Good morning. Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you from the MarketSite in Times Square. Joining me is Peter Vaihansky. He's the vice president of DataArt. We're going to focus on the art of good digitalization. Peter, it's great to have you back with us at MarketSite. Now, my question to you is, why do financial services firms continue to get digitalization wrong?
Great question. So it's obviously not the technology itself. I mean, technology is the same technology available to everyone. It's been around for a while, and yet true success can be claimed by very few incumbents in the financial services space. And the reason we think is not so much technical, but cultural. So think of digital as cultural. It's the legacy mindset and culture of being product-centric and company-centric rather than customer-centric. It's the culture that fails to appreciate just how far the customer expectation and the customer experience have evolved, and frankly just continues to expect that the customers will just keep taking what they're given. By contrast, the companies that succeed with digital, their culture is that of being in love with their customers' problems, obsessed with solving their customer problems, and they do that by delivering compelling digital experiences that address a real need, are seamless, intuitive, easy, and delight the consumer in the process.
How do you achieve customer centricity and avoid the risk of making developments in silos?
Yeah, that's a good question as well.
That's like the real problem that exists.
Correct. So basically, you will succeed when it's the customer and not you that's at the center of your universe. So from the customer in and not from the company out. And you can almost always tell when you look at a digital offering which paradigm was followed when that digital offering was designed. So, and again, the bar is insanely high these days. You're not just being compared to other insurance companies or other banks. Forget it, that train has sailed, as they say. You know, you're being compared to the best examples of digital out there. In the world where the default interface to pretty much everything that we do is an intuitive, powerful mobile app that's right there. You tap, you swipe, and magic happens. It's those e-commerce providers and ride-sharing services that you're being compared against and judged against, and that's the standard of customer centricity that you need to address and pursue. The way that customers now expect to be able to transact with you is the way that's convenient to them, not to you, right? So it needs to be digitally across products and services, regardless of device, regardless of time of day, regardless of location. And that means when they connect to you, they expect you to know who they are, know your context, know the history of your interaction with them, if there's history, understand what they need, what they want to accomplish, and then enable them by giving them full information, fully transparently, all of the information that they need to make an informed decision, and then giving them the functionality to actually transact. And that's just simply not reality for the majority of what's out there.
So it sounds like having consistency across the platforms is what's key.
It's one of the aspects of it, for
right.
sure.
So as a complete package, what's going to make a financial services successful with their digital strategy?
I'd say three pillars, sort of three principles to consider. One, digitalization is not a facelift. Think from the ground up. Reimagine your offering, your processes, optimize them for the digital. Just taking a paper-based process to the screen, labeling it online banking, and declaring victory and going home would not do it. Right. It's a comparison that I read somewhere that I really like. It would be the same as Apple developing iTunes and the iPod and then the iPhone and the iPad, and then seriously try to use that channel to sell CDs or vinyl. It just wouldn't make sense. So look for things people really want to do and look for ways to enable them and to support them. That's number one. Number two, as you do that, don't assume that you actually know the answer and you know what they want or try to guess the answer. The number one reason, by far, of startups failing is, by a mile, no market need. So very smart people expend enormous amounts of energy, time, and money to build things that they're convinced are going to change the world, only to find out that nobody wants to use it. So don't be like that. Don't repeat that mistake. Use instead what's called lean startup principles and lean product development approaches, where you test your ideas, where you prototype heavily, and you put your prototypes early in the process in front of real people, not people who work for you, not product owners, but real people, and get this valuable feedback. It's way better than asking questions. Asking questions is better than nothing, but the prototype is going to give you the feedback that no questionnaire ever could, and then collect usage data and collect this feedback, and then pivot or change your design or product, and then iterate further and further and further until you get to a minimally viable product or MVP, and then you build off of that foundation. So use that toolkit. Use data-driven, reality-driven decision-making in your product design and product management, not intuition-driven or ego-driven or belief-driven.
Right.
That's two. And number three is you want to implement your digital strategy based on your enterprise-wide digital platform to ensure consistency. To do it differently would be to perpetuate the same problem of fractured, siloed organizational structures that have plagued the industry for decades. You can't just have disconnected islands of digitalization here and there without an overarching strategy to guide it and to ensure quality of design and delivery. Instead, this platform, you should think of it not as an IT system, which of course it is, but it's way more than that. It's essentially your technology-enabled business model. This technology is your business. It is your ability to deliver value in this new digital world. And so that's how it should be thought of. And then your digital offering, all the products and services, you don't even know what people are going to innovate based on that process. But you will enable flow of information, exchange of information between departments and teams. You will enable a complete view of the customer that will enable advanced analytics and insight-driven decision-making. And in designing and implementing that platform, you should think of things like open connectivity to enable teams from within and outside your organization to connect and innovate new products and services on it. It needs to also be conceived of and scoped with the entire strategy in mind, as opposed to just the first set of products or services, because of the need to massively scale in the future without any performance issues. So those are the three issues. From the ground up, lean product development and lean startup methodology, and unified enterprise-wide digital platform.
Well, that clearly explains why it has to be the culture.
Correct. Culture is still at the core. It's where you start, and if you don't start there, nothing else is going to take you to where you want to go.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us at MarketSite.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.